Thank you. Try again.
Okay, I'll call the Wellington Board of Education special meeting to order on Tuesday, June 1st. This is a visual meeting, and we're meeting at 4 o'clock. The main issue will be our building committee, the Wellington School Building Committee for roof replacement and other building projects that we may have. Our agenda is limited to call of order, approval of CS roof replacement architectural plans, projects, manuals, and professional cost estimate, and approval of the HMS, the Hall Memorial School roof replacement architectural plans, project manuals, professional costs and estimates. And at that point, after we finish that, we will adjourn. No other business will be conducted during this special meeting. Phil, I think you have a few things that you want. I'll call our meeting to order. And Phil, you have a few items you want to present before we discuss the.
Yeah, just connected to the agenda tonight. Just to kind of give an update, because I know you've heard some things through meetings and through emails from me. And I have Scott Pellman here tonight too, who's our owner's rep. You heard that the director came out to visit Hall School and basically said, you have a roof project and I want you to pause until you hear from me. And we've heard now, we have our initial meeting with the state tomorrow. We have all of our documentation in order. This last meeting tonight is the last piece of documentation needed for that meeting. And I'm going to tell you what we are expecting to hear based upon what we know already, is that we're expecting we've already gotten our letter of acceptance for our both roof projects. We are expecting to hear at our meeting tomorrow, that our documentation looks good, that we have a certain amount of time to get this process done, and that they're going to ask us to wait until next summer to do this. This is what we're expecting to hear tomorrow. And the reason we're expecting to hear that is because they want to know if they're going to invest their money in the roof project. They want to know that we're intending to stay. And basically that if something happens with a building committee where that starts to move forward, I think they're going to go back and say, we don't want you to do the roof project. And Scott, you can weigh in on this. You've heard the similar message too. Am I sharing it in the proper manner?
Yeah, that's correct. And actually, once we take the drawings in for their review tomorrow, and let's just assume they issue a letter that would have allowed us to bid, let's say at the middle of the month, let's say June 15th. From the issuance of the letter, we have 2 years actually to start construction on the project. So as long as you start construction within that 2-year window, so that would give us to theoretically June 15th of 2023, the grant that would be approved for the project would remain in place. So the state commitment would remain in place. So that's why we felt, we've got everybody's put together the drawings, put together all the documents. Let's just get it approved. We can put it on the shelf, wait for Costa to come out, work with the town and the district, and determine if a new, potentially if a building project is really something that may be pursued, and if that's the case, then you wouldn't go forward with the roofing project.
And I do expect that, obviously I forwarded the invitation to all of you on your board email. He's coming out, I believe it's the 16th of this month. And, I expect to hear the same thing. I expect to hear him say, I've asked them to pause the project. And again, he's the holder of all these dollars, and he sees himself. Scott, how's he phrase it? He's the one that he's the
major shareholder.
The major shareholder is what he said. He says that, and he represents the major shareholder, meaning that when he is the one approving a 55% reimbursement or a 65% reimbursement to the town, he is that 65%. And So he really takes that to heart. And so that's kind of the lead into what we're gonna do tonight. And that first item on the agenda is the approval of the plans, the what I'm gonna call the book. It's about, each school has about a 300-page plan, and then the updated dollars. And so I sent you some draft motions. If you want to do the draft motion, and then I can jump into what those things are, or how would you like to do it, Herb?
Well, let's have the draft motion first, okay? And then we'll discuss it. Okay?
Yeah.
And I think you provided us with that, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Can I ask
and-
a question before the motion, please? I did
Okay.
not understand everything.
I'm sorry, you didn't understand anything?
Yeah, I have now something. I have a question towards the representation of this question. Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So Elena Testa, my question is, I'm sorry, I was really busy last month, so I probably missed quite a few source of information. So which director came to the schools and told us that we need to postpone the project? Which director? Who is that director?
So he's the undersecretary for the Department of Administrative Services. And he is also the director for the Office of School Construction Grants and Review. So he wears a couple hats, and basically all dollars come through him.
I just don't, what authority does he have to overrule the decision of our town boards to put a new rule? I just want to understand. There is no fight for me. I just don't understand that level of authority, which I would like to understand.
So basically in the process, and Scott, you feel free to chime in on this. The process, Elena, is that when we apply for a grant, it goes through all the phases of working with his staff first, and he's the final stamp. And if he doesn't approve something and he's got a reason to not approve something, he can stop a project. And you know, this is one of those reasons that we initially, I would say almost a year and a half ago, I can't remember the exact date, when the board made a recommendation to the Board of Finance to say, let's do a temporary, a 10-year roof on Center School and patch Hall School until we know what's going on. You made that recommendation as a board. I would say so. We weren't sure we would be in this situation. And the Board of Finance decided to say, no, we want to go through the process. And so that's where we're at. And Scott, you can speak to his authority about Elena. He has the authority to approve or you know, not fund a grant.
So on which reason? What's the official reason for him to do that? What's standing?
I think if I may, I think his concern is that if a new school building project went forward, that in essence, the majority of the money that the state is lending out, that he would have to come back to the town to get that money reimbursed. So he doesn't want to spend, you know, and it's prorated. So if it's a couple years down the road, you're going to lose some of that money. But, you know, he doesn't want to go through that process of having to recapture money that the state's paid to the district because the district's building a new school.
Okay, as I understand, building of a new school is a very far away decision. Okay, thank you for explanation. I just wanted to understand it. Thank you.
Sure.
Phil, is this kind of a catch-22? In other words, we may, if we do go through with the roof project, then maybe the building project will not take place. Or if it was just reverse, we'll have the building project, but not the roof.
No, I think he's just protecting Connecticut dollars. I think in the end, that's what he's trying to do. And, you know, I think, like Scott said, if a renovation or a new pre-K through 8th grade building happens, and it happens in the next 4 years, and you've put a roof on in the summer of 21 or even 22, you would only have paid a couple years on that bond, and you're going to pay all that money back that's left over on that bond. You're not going to get the reimbursement. So it's not that if you put the roof on, the project stops. I mean, it could be 6 years. And this was, again, the board's decision, and through my recommendation, to do a temporary 10-year roof on Center School. The purpose was because if 7 years out, you had to build something, we heard from OSCGR them saying, you're going to have to pay some back, but the majority of it is paid off by around 8 years because it's a 10-year bond. But if you're talking about half that time, which is what cost of the director was talking about, potentially half the time, that's a lot of money that you'd have to repay back, that the town would have to pay back to OSCGR, to the state.
So which amount of money are we talking about? So the reimbursement for the roof project, the grant which we expect from the state, what the amount of that grant is?
Well, you got to figure if we just use Halls as an estimate and quick and just rough math, if you're talking about a $950,000 project and he's paying 65% of it, you're going to pay whatever percentage is left over in that bond after a couple of years.
Okay, but also as I understand, as a town, the town can take a decision, just go ahead with the project without counting for the grant and do it for its own money.
They sure can, but the vote, remember, Elena, the vote that went to town meeting was not to cover the entire project. The vote that went to town meeting was to fund the money expecting a 65% reimbursement.
Oh,
So I think that's where I think taxpayers in this town would have an issue if a board made that decision. I would expect that if they were going to pay the full amount and not worry about reimbursement, which I'm not sure that this town is interested in doing, I don't know that, but they would have to go out to vote again to say, we expect we're going to do this roof and not get anything back. But either way, the board you're acting in the capacity as the school building committee, because that's how you're assigned for this particular project. To get to that information to find out, you still need to go through the process and approve the architectural plans, approve the document plans and the sign-offs, so we can get to that phase tomorrow, find out where they're, what their plans are.
So in a building project of this kind, the roof could be put on in this summer or next summer. Putting up a brand new building would take a number of years going through the process, Phil, wouldn't it? By the time you get the approval of the town, the state, get the plans and everything together, you've got quite a few years down the road. It's not something that we're going to put up next summer, but it'll be 3 or 4 years, wouldn't it? 5 years?
His number, he said when he was here, he said if something were to happen, you could be walking into a building after 4 years.
Yeah, that's right. I did put together a rough outline, Phil, and I believe you might have shared it with the board, but I think at the earliest you could be in December 2024 going into January 2025, or move in the summer of 2025. That is a reasonable schedule to get the school of this size built. Designed, procure the land, all of the things, the steps you'd need to go through.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So my understanding is that what we need to vote on today is these particular motions so that you can finish the process for getting permission to do the roofs. But you say they'll give us the permission, but then they would like us to hit the pause button. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, I think that we would have the permission to do it, and Scott, chime in if you think I'm wrong about this, but we have the initial permission to do the roof project in our state number. To do this next phase, you can't go out to bid the construction portion without their next layer of approval. And so, but you have 2 years to do that. And so I don't, and Scott, maybe this is the question, I think, is that even if you went through that process and you started requesting reimbursement, I don't know that you'd get it. They might hold those dollars. I don't know that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, what I think they'll do is they'll probably we'll go through the review. They'll probably hold the letter, the approval letter. You know, we'll go through the steps, but I think until a final decision is made and Costa is satisfied that, you know, a project will or will not go forward, you know, I think as soon as that decision was made, then he would release the letter. If at that point the district was moving forward with the roof replacement projects.
And as a member of the building committee, does the building committee realize that the window for making the decision to present to the town about property and what it's going to be is such a short window?
Oh, yes. Yep, they're aware. Are you talking about and I'm going to, not the roof building committee, you're talking about the school building committee that's doing
the school building committee, because the last time I heard anything, they couldn't find a piece of property. That may have changed. So if there's no piece of property, it doesn't matter what we want. There's no place to put it. You know, if there's a piece, you know, so what I mean, it's what we choose, what we want and what's feasible.
they've just started that process, Donna.
Okay. So, but for today, if we vote on this and we vote yes, it'll allow us to go to the next step in the process of getting the new roofs. It doesn't guarantee that the new roofs will happen. Am I saying that properly?
I'd say that's fair.
If we don't vote on this today, we can say goodbye to getting the new roofs.
You're correct.
Okay, so then I think that we need to move forward.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, are there any other comments relative?
Yeah, if you want to do the motion, Herb, if you want to do the because we're talking about it, if you want to do the motion, I can share my screen and show you the kind of just who signed off on this and where you're going for this item. Sorry, Andy,
You want to do
cut
that
you off.
Before the motion? You want to do that?
I think to discuss the motion, you should do the motion first, and
Right.
then you have discussion about it.
Okay.
Can I say one thing? This is for Elena. I think what may have had Elena confused is that Costa came to Wellington and visited Hall School, and that's when this became an issue. Does that make sense, Elena?
I understand it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I have the motion in front of me here that was provided by Phil. I don't know if everyone has seen it, but the motion is the Board of Education draft motion. This is for the center roof replacement project. The Wellington Board of Education hereby certifies that the final plans and project manuals for the center school ES roof replacement project, as prepared for bidding and dated May 10th, 2021, and the professional cost estimate completed in accordance with level 3 of ASTM International Standard E1557, standard classification of building elements and related site work dash in format 2 for this project, dated May 10th, 2021, and have been reviewed and approved for this project on June 1st, 2021. Okay, has anyone any questions on the motion? We need a second first, incidentally.
I seconded. Elena.
Okay. Okay, the motion is seconded by Elena. It is now up for discussion purposes.
And I'll tell you, you have that motion in front of you because Scott Pellman's here. I did not write that motion. I'm just going to tell you that right now. This is why you hire an OPM, and because he's been through this process. I'll share with you just so you can see. This is one of the forms that's going to the state that you can. So you as a building committee have confidence. We have one of these for each of the projects. And basically all I'm showing you is that our local building official, Jim Rupert, our local fire marshal, Dick Palmer, our local health official, Holly Hood, and Jim also acts as the 504 ADA individual. They are all signed off on the plans for Center and Hall schools. I'm showing you this so you will know that it's gone through the proper channels. Obviously, Scott Pellman's approved these, looked at these plans too. Obviously, architect is the plans. Scott has a series of questions that's gone back and forth to get to this process. But the local officials that needed to sign this particular document have done so, which means they've looked at the plans. They have looked at the project manuals, which are the documents that are about 300 pages each. And then they've looked at the cost, and the construction cost basically is broken down. The total for Center School, the estimated project cost was $650,000, and basically what they've done is they've broken that number down into what the estimated cost will be. So that's the process that's to get you to this point, what they've gone through for approvals before it gets to final step to you as building committee. Scott, am I missing anything?
No, I think that covered it well, Phil.
Okay, are there any other comments, questions?
Anne has her hand up. Herb.
This may not affect the vote tonight, but we've done repairs. Have we done sufficient repairs so that the schools will remain intact in the event that we do decide to build a new school and we don't move in until 2025?
All I can tell you at this point is, and I don't even want to say this out loud because last time I said we hadn't had a COVID case in a month. I think within a week we had one. We have not had a single leak in either building since Silktown Roofing came in and did their repairs, their patching. I think that I would expect that Costa would ask that question tomorrow. I think they were going to want to know that. But at this point, and I've checked with the administrators and the principals, and I know because I hear it from teachers too, and I walk the buildings, we've not had one leak. Think about the heavy rains that's had this weekend. No water in the buildings. So that's a really positive sign. It's not going to last forever. It's a patch, but it's buying us time. And so that's what I'm going on right now, Ann.
Okay, and we could go back to the finance board if we had a problem between now and then for another repair.
We could.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Okay, I guess we're ready to move on the motion. All those in favor of the motion concerning Center School roof replacement project signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the motion is unanimous. The next motion concerns the Hall Memorial roof replacement project. The motion is pretty much the same as the previous one, but I will read it. The Wellington Board of Education hereby certifies that the final plans and project manuals for the Hall Memorial Replacement Project as prepared for bidding and dated May 10th, 2021, and the professional cost estimate completed in accordance with Level 3 of ASTM International Standard E1557, standard classification of building elements and related site work dash unformatted 2 for this project dated May 10th, 2021, have been reviewed and approved for this project on June 1st, 2021. I hear a second.
I second.
That Elena said.
Laura, second the motion. The motion is now up for discussion. Any comments or questions relative to the motion? Hearing none and seeing no hands raised, we will move on the motion. All those in favor of the Hall Memorial Roof Replacement Project motion signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? The motion is passed and it's unanimous. Okay, Scott, want to thank you for joining us today. We appreciate that. You're very helpful. Phil? I don't believe there's anything else on the agenda because this is a special meeting. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion is made by Laura to adjourn. I hear a second.
I second.
Michelle is seconding the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion is passed. The meeting is over. A short meeting for everyone. Thank you. Thank you,
Good
Phil.
everyone.